I've had lots of dreams in my lifetime. Now, I'm not talking about those nighttime dramas where my subconscious likes to play games and frolic and come up with all kinds of things. I'm talking about the kinds of dreams where I think of possibilities for myself, for my family, dreams of possibilities for this congregation, possibilities for our community of Statesboro and beyond. And I have these dreams. I know you do too. And you know, sometimes they actually come true. Sometimes surprisingly so, they come true. I, like many of you, had the dream of marriage equality. We worked for it. But I actually thought it was one of those dreams, kind of like the suffragists had, you know, about women voting, that they would work on, but it would not come in their lifetime. But they would work toward it, and some future generations would benefit. That's really kind of how I thought about it. But look at this map. Look at the map. Here are the states now, the ones in red, that have won the freedom to marry. And of course, there's one state on the East Coast, one state only. One state that hasn't made it yet. But we will. We will. That dream will come true. We will have, at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Statesboro, we will have weddings and they will be legal. We will have freedom to marry. That dream will come true. I'm very excited about that. But some other dreams we've had, and we have, that I have especially, and probably you too, are just more frustrating. You do the same kind of thing. You work for them, you try, you follow the advice of others. It's just tough. Now, one of them is my trying to get healthy. I have for some time been wanting to get back to my optimum weight, been wanting to get my cholesterol down. I have for some time been wanting to make sure that I did not follow my genetic path that I have watched others follow to becoming maybe having heart disease and diabetic. And I've been working at it, I think. I thought I was. But look at this picture. There's me in 2007 when Greg and I got married. And here I am at my birthday party 2014. I had put on 20 pounds in 7 years. How does that happen?
Greg's fault.
Yes, it's Greg's fault. He's also gained weight too, by the way. 20 pounds in 7 years, you know? So I tried different things, and I realized I can't do this alone. So last summer I invited some of you. I said, let's have a health group. We're going to come together on Wednesday nights or Wednesday afternoons. We're going to get together. We're going to talk about our goals for our health. And we're going to try to be accountable to one another. And then we're going to exercise. And some of us bought little things in technology. And we did that for a little while. Some of you are sitting in here that did it with me. And it just kind of dropped off the wayside. And then there was no more group, you know. So I got kind of down again about it. But then a couple of you told me that you were having good results with Weight Watchers. Oh yes, I'll join Weight Watchers. I joined Weight Watchers. But let me tell you something about Weight Watchers. You can go to Weight Watchers and you can go to the meetings and you can pay them the money, even prepay the monthly fee. And you can still not lose weight. Or you can lose a couple pounds again, a couple pounds, lose a couple pounds again, a couple pounds. Because you got to follow the program. It's kind of like the AA 12-step people said. You have to follow the program. You have to follow it. You have to have a program. You have to follow the program. You have to do right. So for the new year, I said, okay, new year coming up. I am really going to do it, and I'm going to do better. And one of the things I have, since I have a special hard time with the sugar and stuff like that, I have made my commitment. I got Greg to get rid of. We got rid of all the candy and everything out of the house after Christmas, of course. After my final glass of wine on New Year's Eve, we've gotten rid of all the wine and alcohol in the house, you know. So I said, well, I'm going to quit drinking. I'm going to quit eating sugar. I'm going to try to do better with following this thing with Weight Watchers. and I am going to try to work this, and I am going to make this dream come true. Now, I'm telling you all here so you can all keep me accountable that I'm going to do better, because I see what happens, I know what happens if I don't. I see my relatives, I can watch that, my older relatives, what's happened to them with heart disease and diabetes, things like that. And I know the path I will fall into if I don't do something about it. So I'm going to make that dream come true, but it's going to take a program and working hard to do it. Now, another dream that I've been frustrated with, to be honest with you, is in terms of this congregation becoming more anti-racist, anti-oppressive, multicultural congregation, more intentionally so. Now, I know we do better than a lot, better than some, but when I was in seminary, we called them Annie-Annie-M's. Oh, any paper you write, you have to say, oh, did you look through your Annie-Annie-M lens as you wrote that paper? Annie-Annie-M, meaning anti-racism, anti-oppression, multicultural. We attempted to try to make that something that we were conscious of on the different papers we wrote, on the different projects we did. We tried to use that as a lens to see things through so that we could make sure we were trying to be doing the best that we could in this area. And, in our congregation, it's kind of like when we said something about we were going to work on being a welcoming congregation for LGBTQ folks. Remember when we did that? There were a lot of people who said, oh, but we're already welcoming. We are a welcoming congregation already, and we were fairly welcoming. But it did some good for us to go through and work for it, and explore it, and look at it, and think of things that we could do even better. And I think folks will tell you that we are better because of it, because we have tried to explore that and look at it and think about the possibilities of becoming more welcoming. Similarly, I think not as many people, though, will say, well, we're already a multicultural congregation. I don't think that we will claim and lift that up as highly as we do being a welcoming congregation for LGBTQ folks. I don't think we've done it well with that, as we have with some other things. So I looked for a program. Where's the Weight Watchers? There is a good program that UUA has. And I talked with the Committee on Ministry about it and shared that, and they encouraged me. They said, yes, that's a good thing for us to do. Why don't we do that? And they encouraged me, and so I said, okay, we'll do it. So I'm standing up here now to tell you all that hopefully we're going to begin this, not this coming Wednesday, but the next Wednesday. And it is called Building the World We Dream About. Building the World We Dream About. Now, I found this picture to sort of illustrate it. I thought it was a good picture because I thought the world we dream about is very diverse culturally, very diverse in terms of all kinds of things. We want people to come here and feel free regardless of theology or of culture, and we want to have a very diverse world here and the world beyond. And I thought having these people with these different beautiful colors, would be sort of metaphorical for that. But one of my Facebook friends, I said, well, come to Building the World We Dream About at UUFS. And he said, is it UUFS or UFOs? They do look a little like aliens, I guess. But I said, well, you never know. Just come and see. I mean, maybe we would be welcoming if the aliens stepped in here. So what is this about? Building the World We Dream About is a Unitarian Universalist program that seeks to interrupt the workings of racism and transform how people from different racial, ethnic groups understand and relate to one another. That's what this program is about. Now, I like that picture with the children holding hands and running through. Isn't that a nice picture? I got that off the internet. But I just as easily could have taken a picture in here or in our community and had something up there too. I did it off the internet because it was easy and I was working. But then, as I was leaving yesterday, the movie, I went to see Selma. You need to go see Selma. It's playing now. And if you go at a certain hour, you can get a cheap ticket, like between 4 and 5 or something like that. So go to see Selma. It's very, very good. So I went to see Selma, and I was on my way home, and I was thinking about and concerned about and frustrated about the changes we still needed to make. and the problems we had related to racism especially with many things that happened in our nation recently. I'm on my way home, and I'm traveling down Jones over there, and I hear, hey, you know, I see somebody waving, and it's Thomas. He's at the old Salazar School on a bicycle, okay? He's got a rope tied to the back, and then on a skateboard is his best friend and neighbor Josh, who's a little black boy that said they're good friends, and they're waving, having a good time. I could have taken that picture, but it made me think when I just rode by and saw it, you know, we have made progress. I think too down about us on some things. That picture would not have been a picture that would have been there many years ago. And we see it a lot now. That's the picture we see. Here are these two little boys living in the same neighborhood, going to the same school, best friends. And it's not a picture that would have happened back in Ruby Bridges' day, back in my day. So yes, we have made progress, but we have more to go. And we need to do some things to interrupt. We've kind of fallen into we were doing good and we kind of fell into this, okay, now we're there now maybe. And I think what's happened is some of these events that have occurred with the shootings have woken us up to the fact that, oh my goodness, especially some of the comments some of us have gotten on our Facebook walls, etc. We are not there. We have much work to do. So, what will this be about? There are 4 goals to this program. First is to promote multicultural, welcome, inclusion, and affirmation in all facets of Unitarian Universalist congregational life, so that everything we do should have something that we think about this as we do it. It will develop participants' knowledge and skills in addressing issues related to race, ethnicity, and cultural identity, both individually and institutionally. Some folks say, I didn't say anything when I saw such and such happen because I wasn't quite sure what to say or what to do. We have to practice these things. It doesn't all, you know, because sometimes we might mess up, and we do mess up, but we can be in here and practice what to do and how to work in our community as these things happen, and in our congregation. It's to identify ways congregations can build multiracial, multicultural communities of love and justice. Not only with our congregation, but how can we build these communities in other groups that we're part of in the community. And last but not least, the 4th one. Transform how participants see their individual selves, their congregation, their community, and world through the lens of race and ethnicity. It's easy for us to see a news program about Ferguson and say, well, this should have happened or that should have happened. But what about looking at our congregation, at our community? I met with some people Friday afternoon, this past Friday afternoon, about the possibility of some of us working toward having some kinds of workshops, at least one, but hopefully on down the line too, with law enforcement in Bullock County and Statesboro, and having them work with others and all of us too, in trying to strengthen relationships. Because whether there's anything wrong or not, there's a perception among many that there is. And help us take a look at this. Sometimes it's tough to take that magnifying glass and really look, but we should. Well, now, as I said, before we went through the welcoming congregation, we said, what does that mean? And then after we did one thing. It means we're going to put a rainbow flag out front, you know? We're going to be more up front. But what does it mean to become a more intentional, multicultural congregation? There are some congregations that have done this more intentionally, and they've shared information about it. One congregation that's worked very hard on it is the University of Richmond, not the university, the UU congregation in Richmond. And their minister said she found out as she was working with it, there were a lot of misconceptions about what this would be, to be more intentionally multicultural. So she shared some of those with other ministers, and I picked up on those, and I'm going to share some of those with you. Some of those misconceptions or myths about what a more intentional multicultural congregation would be. One myth is this is all about numbers, just getting more diverse people, people that look different inside the congregation. Well, you can't deny some number kind of situations. The benchmark of congregational diversity is that no single group accounts for more than 80% of the community. That's sort of a benchmark. Are we there in terms of racial diversity or ethnic diversity? I don't think so. But it's not just about counting. It's not just about counting. It's about ensuring that people of color who visit UUFS feel respected and valued here, and that they feel welcome in becoming active participants in this building, in this beloved community. So it's more than just numbers, but it's about feeling welcome. But a part of feeling welcome does have to do sometimes with looking around and seeing if you see folks that look like you. I met with one African American woman who had recently visited us a few times. We were talking about Unitarian Universalism. She thought this might be somewhere that would be a good fit. She noted the absence of black folks and asked if we had any who were members. I was embarrassed to say one African American member. It's hard for folks to feel welcome when they come in the door and they look around and don't see folks that look like them. Okay? So it's not about numbers, but there is something to numbers. Folks being here. Now here's another myth. Myth, that's just one. We got about 7, I think. Myth number 2. This is about political correctness. You know, Jane's always wanting to make sure she's PC. So she's going to do this too. No. It's about who we are. We cannot be who we say we want to be as Unitarian Universalists, or even who we already claim to be, not just what we already claim to be this, and not be intentional about this aspect of welcoming. Myth number 3, they wouldn't choose us anyway, you know. There are destructive stereotypes that go along with this idea that they would not choose us. People say, well, why would they want to leave their church and come to our church? That's a problem right there, just the way it's stated. Why would they want to leave their church and come to our church? I could preach a sermon on that one statement. But the other part about this is what I want you to really concentrate on. There are a growing number of people from many races and ethnic groups and cultural traditions that are unchurched. It's not that they are in some church and we want to say, come from your church where you're very happy with and come over to our church. There are many who are not happy where they are, and they are unchurched. They are seeking a place. They are seeking a spiritual home, and they visit us. We have had walk in the door, visit us, and don't come back. Or maybe visit another time, and then don't come back. So it's not that they're not interested. There's some other problems here. Myth number 4. If we do this, this is probably going to be more theism, more God in the church. Maybe. Possibly, but not necessarily. And we don't really emphasize our theology here anyway. We have differing theologies. What we emphasize in here is how we live our lives. And sometimes we bring our theologies in there to sort of support those, but we know we're different theologically. That's part of who we are as Unitarian Universalists. Myth number 5. oh, this is just about proselytizing, going out and, we don't proselytize. We don't tell people they need to be Unitarian Universalists. Now, it does not mean, again, recruiting people out of churches where they already feel at home. My mama would not be a happy Unitarian Universalist. I know that, okay? I'm not going to try to get my mama to be a Unitarian Universalist. She's quite happy as a primitive Baptist. That's cool, you know? Bless her heart. Got more power to her. Lift that up. It's not about proselytizing. It does mean, though, being more visible in our community so that people seeking a spiritual community like ours can discover it. They're out there. They don't know we're here. And when people visit, when they do come in the door, it means expressing our principles through diverse, multi-generational voices, like with our children, rhythms, images, celebrating many cultures and faith traditions. I brought my drum and I was going to play it when we did Guide Our Feet and forgot to pick it up. But it would have, let's do some of those things. Myth number 6. This is just about doing for others. And of course the answer is no. Whether or not we bring one other person in here or not. The main part of this is what we can do for ourselves, how we need to change ourselves. Michael Jackson's song is really one of the best about this. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways, and no message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change. And then myth number 7 is this will just happen. As demographics change, and as our country changes, and we'll change too, then why haven't we? If that's the case, then why hasn't it just happened, if it will just happen? Why haven't our anti-racist, anti-oppressive, multicultural dreams for our world, our nation, our community, and our congregation just come true? Now, it's true that we don't see strange fruit hanging from trees anymore, do we? Thank goodness. But we see bodies lying in the street. Not a lot different. We no longer have official school segregation. Hallelujah. But because of the way we fund or underfund education, most African American children, especially those in urban schools, have a poor chance of becoming well educated. We no longer enslave people, or do we? We've elected an African American president twice. But we've unleashed a hatred that we've seen in our communities that is unparalleled for a president, at least in my lifetime. We've marched for justice, marched in the streets. But we have failed to fully explore what we need to do in this congregation and in our hearts. This is Reverend John Criswell. He's a Unitarian Universalist minister. Hey there. Welcome. He's a Unitarian Universalist minister. He's in Annapolis now. He's been in a couple of places. His main goal is working toward this, helping folks become more intentional in becoming more multicultural. This is what he says about it. He says it has to become a conscious, deliberate, and determined effort of the congregation. You've got to look at every aspect of your ministry, so he says. He says, so my order of service and how that looks matters. The art that I put up on my church walls matters. What I do in the worship service matters. It has to become a part of the fabric, that DNA of your congregation. And if you do that, and if you're patient, and give it some time and thoughtful meditation, you'll watch your congregation transform. Do you think that's a possibility? We need our congregation to transform, because we need to be healthy enough here to go out and help our community, to go out and help our state, our nation, and our world transform. Now that doesn't mean we have to do all our work here before we can start doing things with others. We can still do other things. I am going to go to ride up with Francis Johnson to Atlanta tomorrow for Moral Monday and participate in those efforts. We can do those kinds of things. Don't worry, folks. They're not going to have a civil disobedience tomorrow. You do not have to come and bail me out. I will not get arrested tomorrow. Okay? But we are going to do our part. But if, you know, we've got all this turmoil in France and everywhere in the world with people not being able to get along because of religion and because of race and ethnicity, and it's just it's becoming pretty sad. And we have to look for pockets of where it can happen. Where can it happen? And this is where it can happen. In a Unitarian Universalist congregation, we need to be the pocket of, yes, it can happen. We can do it here. We can be the example so that we can go out and then share with others. I know it can happen. I've been in a place where it happens. There's no better place than here for us to transform. So I'm going to invite you to participate with us on Wednesday nights. Now, if for some reason you can't come on Wednesday night, you got a class or something, you can follow along with us and maybe still be connected with us. I'll be preaching some other sermons related to some of these topics too. But you really need to come if you possibly can on Wednesday night, 6:30 to 8:30. We'll be out by 8:30, I promise. Maybe before. So we can really explore and think about some of these things and work on ourselves as well. And when we have the offertory, I'm going to pass around a sheet that you can put your name and email address on if you are willing to come take that journey with us. Okay? So, come, whoever you are. Wanderer, worshiper, lover of leading. I can promise you that ours will not be a caravan of despair. Come, yet again.